This is Bill Jones again with recapturefederalism.com. This is another in the ongoing series, Enslavement of the American People, and this will be part 8. Subtitle will be Blogger MLK. We will look at a clip again of Senator Durbin in his somehow he's going to redefine freedom of the press in his own modern day terms to his advantage and the advantage of the Democratic and Republican Party. They somehow need a shield law. Of course, it's really they're attempting to shield themselves from criticism, and there is a lot of criticism. We will be talking about some famous bloggers. They weren't called bloggers then, but they in effect had a log that was published, and Martin Luther King Jr. was one of them. The Holy Bible, Declaration of Independence. These were things that were all published. We'll watch the clip and then I may talk about it some more.
Here's the bottom line. The media shield law, which I am prepared to support, and I know Senator Graham supports, still leaves an unanswered question, which I've raised many times. What is a journalist today in 2013? We know it's someone who works for Fox or AP, but does it include a blogger? Does it include someone who's tweeting? Are these people journalists and entitled to constitutional protection? We need to ask 21st century questions about a provision in our Constitution that was written over 200 years ago.
Gentlemen, let's turn to the IRS scandal. As I said, we got a lot of ground to cover here.
So there we have it, showing that clip again. That's about the third time I'm showing it, because it's so interesting, showing the intent of senators, in this particular case Durbin, and he makes reference to Graham of South Carolina. And what is their intent? Their intention is to censor we the people, the public, the sovereign citizens of the sovereign states. They're going to decide. They're going to decide the definition of a journalist, and we're not even talking about a journalist. That's so restrictive, isn't it? How many journalists are there? They're the only ones that are going to be allowed to write and criticize, which they won't. Senators, congressmen, anybody. So it's like the reverse of burning books. We don't have to burn any books. You'll restrict the people who will publish, who have podcasts, bloggers. And what is a blogger? It comes on, it's short for web log. And what's a log? A log is the entries into a report in some cases. Others make reference to that in like a diary. You know, they're writing and they have their thoughts and ideas, commentaries. What annoys the elected officials is to be negative political commentary. That's what they're really trying to control. Enslave. There, I broke my rule. We're not going to use control anymore. We're going to call it what it is, enslavement. And which brings me to Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963. Thrown in jail by Bull Connor. They didn't like the fact he was demonstrating down there in Alabama. They threw him in jail, and while he was in jail, he responded to an editorial in a paper from other clergymen. And he came up with what is known now as the letter from the Birmingham jail. It's 48 paragraphs. My opinion, strictly my opinion, the best document written in the 20th century. Beautifully written. And to think that he was in a jail cell, had no references whatsoever. It's just a beautiful document. But it's a log. He was answering the criticism in the paper from the other clergy. And he responded so beautiful about laws and unjust laws and what an unjust law is, and on and on and on, 48 paragraphs. It was then published. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., fourth generation preacher man, he was not a journalist. But yet you have this beautiful document. Now, there's other documents too. He makes references to other documents. Constitution, for instance, that wasn't written by journalists. It was published also. Declaration of Independence. The Federalist Papers, 85 Federalist Papers, not one of them that I know of was written by a journalist. The three primary writers of the Federalist Papers, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. One would become a Supreme Court justice in John Jay's case. The other, James Madison, would be president. And the Alexander Hamilton would be Treasury Secretary under Washington. We also have the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible is books, a collection of books, published. Originally it was a verbal, almost like podcast. Then they were written down, made into essentially documentary, and has been published. It's now on the web. And there's people who blog that. Are they religious journalists? No, not necessarily. Many of them just everyday people. But the Constitution, the freedom of press, is press for every individual person. Every sovereign citizen in every state has the opportunity to say whatever he wishes, and then he gets it published or publishes it himself. That's the thing about blogging now. Anybody can publish. You hit the button and say publish. You have a website. Publish it. You put it on somebody else's website. It's content. And the senators, they want to control that content. Oh, we can't have the average everyday person making statements and criticizing. Oh, to criticize the Senate and the House and the President and the Supreme Court. Oh, we can't have that. We have to enslave the people.